In the wild world of Street Fighter, strength comes in many forms. Discipline, ambition, and sometimes sheer muscle. Few embody that better than the Red Cyclone himself, Zangief, and his fiery protege, Rainbow Mika. Together they form one of the series' most unlikely yet endearing duos. A living mountain of muscle and a passionate wrestler whose dreams burn as brightly as her voice in the ring. Their stories span continents, from shattered Shadaloo bases to wrestling arenas filled with roaring crowds. And together they show us how mentorship, admiration, and the pursuit of muscle spirit can be as meaningful as any victory. Today we'll step into the ring with Zangief and R Mika, exploring their journeys, their bond, and the way their paths intertwine in the grand saga of Street Fighter. Before entering the legendary World Warrior tournament, Zangief first cut his teeth in underground wrestling circuits, where he billed himself simply as The Gief. From there he rose into the world of professional wrestling, first as a villainous heel, then as a beloved babyface. Dressed in crimson trunks and known for his devastating spinning techniques, he earned the title of the Red Cyclone, a living force of nature whose reputation extended far beyond the borders of the Soviet Union. Unlike Ryu, Ken, or Guile, Zangief needs no fireballs or sonic booms. His fighting style is all about closing the distance, absorbing punishment with his massive frame, and hurling opponents like rag dolls. Yet the Red Cyclone is more than just a brute. He despises fighters like Vega, who value beauty and vanity above strength, building muscle not for admiration, but for power. His body, a weapon forged through hardship and discipline. And beyond the gym, his training extends to the mind as well. During the events of Street Fighter Alpha 2, Zangief carried the banner of professional wrestling across the globe, proving it was not only an art form, but a symbol of Soviet strength. Along the way, he crossed paths with America's own champion, Ken Masters, who taunted him as a mama's boy. Their clash became more than a fight between individuals. For Zangief, it was a symbolic victory over a rival nation. His triumph did not go unnoticed. The Red Cyclone was personally congratulated by the president of the USSR. Though the nation's resources were strained, Zangief was promised support in his training. His reward? A hearty toast of the finest Russian vodka, fuel for his next trials in the wild forests of his homeland. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, the rise of Shadaloo casts a shadow over the Soviet Union, and Zangief is dispatched by his nation's great leader to confront the threat head-on. Along his path he encounters Rolento, a militant zealot and former member of the Mad Gear gang. Hoping to gather information, Zangief questions him about Shadaloo's operations. But Rolento has no interest in sharing, declaring that Shadaloo is his target, and that anyone who obstructs him will be crushed. The two warriors clash, and when Zangief emerges victorious, he recognizes a deeper truth. Shadaloo's corruption has spread so far, it has earned enemies across the globe. His leader's judgment, he reflects, was indeed correct. Driven ever harder to see Shadaloo's end, Zangief is intercepted by Interpol's finest, Chun-Li. She warns him that the syndicate is too vast, too dangerous for a lone man to challenge. It should be left to her organization, Interpol. But Zangief refuses to retreat. To withdraw would mean disgrace, and he vows to prove the strength of both himself and his country. Breaking through her test of resolve, he finally stands before the dictator himself, M. Bison. The warlord recognizes him as the Red Cyclone of Russia, and demands to know what it is he seeks. Zangief answers plainly that Bison's tyranny has oppressed his homeland, and he will put an end to it. Amused, Bison relishes the chance to crush the Soviet hero and leave him broken. Yet Zangief triumphs, declaring that those who walk the path of evil are destined to be destroyed. Even so, he offers Bison a chance to repent. The dictator remains silent, and Zangief turns his attention to the final task: tearing down Shadaloo's base itself. Deep within the base, Zangief crosses paths with the mighty sumo E Honda, also intent on bringing Shadaloo down, though hopelessly lost in the labyrinth of corridors. Joining forces, they finally uncover the Psycho Drive, but as they approach it, the machine roars to life, unleashing a torrent of psycho power that begins to restore Bison's shattered body. Realizing brute strength is the only answer, Zangief devises a plan only he could conceive of, combining Honda's immense weight with his own screw piledriver, hurling the sumo again and again into the cursed machine. Each impact rattles the facility until the Psycho Drive shatters, severing Bison from his source of power. Without its life-giving energy, the dictator's body collapses into ruin. And so the unlikely comrades, one from Russia, one from Japan, deliver a victory that will be celebrated across Zangief's homeland, a testament to strength, resolve, and a partnership as unorthodox as it was unbreakable. The Alpha series is where Zangief would first meet his biggest fan R. Mika as well, but more on that later. In Street Fighter II, Zangief entered the second World Fighting Tournament to represent his country on the world stage and stomp on his opponents. His story here is simple, almost playful. A giant of a man who crushes his enemies with brute strength and celebrates victories with his great leader in joyful dance. For Zangief, victory is never his alone. It belongs to the people, shared with the nation he fights for. By the era of Street Fighter IV, Zangief's mission had grown beyond national pride. He now fought for the children who looked up to him. Entering SIN's tournament, he sets out to prove once again that wrestling's might could stand against any fighter on the world stage. Neither the frozen wilderness of Russia nor its hungry grizzly bears could slow the Red Cyclone's march towards the ring. Along the way, he clashed with the flamboyant luchador chef, El Fuerte, and the mysterious martial artist, Abel. Seeing that Abel looked troubled, Zangief offered his own blunt philosophy. When life gets you down, there's nothing better than a good fight. Naturally, this meant punching Abel until he felt better. And when the tournament was over, the mighty grappler faced his greatest challenge yet. He had forgotten to buy souvenirs for his young fans back home. But Zangief is never defeated by such trifles. With characteristic flair, he strikes a heroic pose for a photograph, a gift he knew would inspire the next generation of Russia's heroes. In Street Fighter V, Zangief, still every bit the eccentric Red Cyclone, takes on the role of mentor, guiding the next generation of wrestlers, including the rising star, R. Mika. His story begins when he receives the latest issue of Muscle Soul Fighters from his old friend Azam, once a formidable wrestler himself, and now personal assistant to Rashid. On the cover is an old acquaintance, R. Mika, whose fame has spread across the wrestling world. While in merry old England, Zangief and R. Mika's paths cross once again. As they haven't seen one another in some time, Zangief challenges her to a friendly bout, a test of her progress. True to form, R. Mika accepts with excitement. After her defeat, she resolves to follow in the footsteps of the great master Zangief. He tells her that what she truly needs is muscle spirit, and suggests they embark on a rigorous journey of training together. In China, Zangief and R. Mika meet up with Rashid and Azam. Azam notes that Zangief's training pilgrimage is a bit old-fashioned, but the Red Cyclone shrugs it off with his usual confidence. Introducing Azam to R. Mika, Zangief reveals that his old friend now serves as an advisor for the Muscle Soul Fighters Club. Rashid, recognizing Zangief's name, remarks that Azam never mentioned him before, and when he compliments Zangief's massive physique, the wrestler takes it as a challenge and leaps into a friendly fight. Inspired by the spectacle, R. Mika requests her own match with Rashid, and Zangief eagerly encourages them to make it a great bout. As the training continues, Azam mentions a message from Laura, referencing the usual place. It seems Zangief is already arranging a showdown for R. Mika with Laura, ensuring that every encounter becomes an opportunity to learn and grow under the guidance of the legendary Red Cyclone. Next, the pair travel to New York to compete in a fighting tournament, stepping into the ring as tag team partners. Mika is understandably nervous about fighting alongside her idol and mentor, but Zangief reassures her. Her muscle spirit is just as honed as his. With characteristic flair, he tells her that if she ever finds herself unsure of what to do in the ring, she need only glance at his massive trapezius muscles. They will serve as her guide to victory. This sets the stage for the main story of Street Fighter V, where Zangief and Mika are first seen entering the ring at the New York fighting tournament to face off against Alex. Laura then appears and jumps in the ring, rallying the crowd and declaring she'll make the match even more exciting by teaming up with Alex. But unfortunately, the story doesn't reveal the outcome, leaving the battle's conclusion to the imagination. Later, Karin Kanzuki would call upon Zangief for help in thwarting Shadaloo's plan to unleash chaos and amplify Bison's psycho power. One of several chess pieces needed to activate Shadaloo's Black Moon Doomsday weapons was sent to the Red Cyclone. However, as he was attending a wrestling event at the time, Zangief entrusted it to a friend. He then travels to India alongside Guile to retrieve it, only for the pair to be ambushed by Shadaloo soldiers, led by the boxer Balrog, with Ed and Santamu, one of Bison's dolls, in tow. During the fight, Ed uses his psycho power to sneakily snatch the chess piece from Zangief's luxuriant chest hair. Then, in the group's first, ultimately failed attempt to infiltrate the Shadaloo base and stop the Black Moons from being activated, Abel, who had been spying on the organization from within, falls under the influence of psycho power and attacks them. Zangief quickly knocks him unconscious, and the group is forced to retreat back to the Kanzuki estate. Zangief would also be there for the final assault, fighting against Shadaloo soldiers and Bison's dolls, who have been enhanced with psycho power. Years after the fall of Shadaloo in Street Fighter VI, Zangief continues his own intense muscle training, but has fully embraced the role of mentor. In World Tour mode, he mentions Mika as one of his students, now a top fighter herself and active wrestler in her own right. He tells the player that he hopes to see them face off against her in the future. Mika confirmed for Year 4. In his story, Zangief is in Italy when he spots an ad on a notice board from someone seeking a partner in the Colosseo. Convinced it's a call for a tag team partner for an upcoming match, he walks towards the Colosseo, only for another notice to unfurl without him knowing, warning that those not serious about marriage need not apply. Signed simply, Marissa. Entering the Colosseo, Zangief impresses Marissa with his muscles and fighting spirit, seemingly oblivious to her flirtations. After their battle, she reveals she is seeking marriage, leaving a flustered Zangief to make his excuses, claiming he has another match to attend. Once he departs, Marissa admits that she made the ads half-jokingly, but she never expected such a catch would fall into her net, and hopes their paths will cross again someday. Through decades of battles, tournaments, and mentorship, Zangief has remained true to his roots. A warrior who fights not just for glory, but for the pride of his homeland and the spirit of wrestling itself. From crushing foes in the ring to guiding the next generation, he embodies strength, discipline, and heart. And as the Red Cyclone continues to inspire others, one rising star stands ready to follow in his footsteps. Mika, the brash and determined wrestler whose journey is just beginning. Mika's journey begins in Street Fighter Alpha 3. Young, ambitious, and fiercely determined, she is ready to make her mark as a professional wrestler. Seeking ways to promote herself and rise to stardom, she steps into the world of street fighting to challenge the strongest opponent she can find. She even finds time to continue to train in between fights. On her journey, Mika crosses paths with Karin Kanzuki, who initially laughs at the idea of someone training to become a professional wrestler fighting in the streets. But after their clash, Karin is forced to recognize Mika's raw strength and skill, admitting that she hadn't studied pro wrestling closely enough. Impressed, Karin offers to sponsor Mika's career if she can prove herself and rise to the very top. Later, Mika encounters her idol, Zangief, admitting that he inspired her to become a professional wrestler. Amused and pleased by her words, Zangief offers her a match. Mika is then distraught when she wins, claiming it was all an accident, but admits it was an exhilarating fight, one she promises to tell her future children about. Zangief, taking the defeat in his stride, is impressed by the young wrestler's skill. The pair soon encounter Shadaloo's leader, Bison, accompanied by the boxer Balrog. Bison mocks the duo, calling them a happy couple, but Mika enthusiastically challenges Bison's general Balrog, and after defeating him, impresses the dictator with her strength. Bison then engages Mika in battle, but much to his surprise, Mika defeats him. Mika seems unaware who Bison and Shadaloo are. Zangief, impressed once again by the young wrestler, promises to explain who Bison is once he completes his mission for the Motherland and destroys the Psycho Drive. The pair infiltrate Shadaloo's base, locate the device, and Zangief lariats it until it begins to explode. As they escape the collapsing facility, Mika stumbles and a massive piece of debris falls towards her. But with his immense strength, Zangief blocks it effortlessly. From that moment, our Mika's admiration, and perhaps infatuation, for her mentor only grows. Zangief reassures her that his body is too strong to be harmed by mere rocks, and they escape safely before the base is destroyed. Back at her training, Mika can't help but think of Zangief, wondering if their paths will cross again someday. Years later in Street Fighter V, Mika has fully embraced her role as a wrestler and performer, fighting alongside her tag team partner, Nadeshiko. She radiates charisma, drawing crowds wherever she goes, yet beneath the theatrics lies genuine ambition. Her story begins with a reunion with Zangief, whom she hasn't seen in several years. When he suggests they travel the globe together to achieve the ultimate muscle spirit, Mika eagerly agrees. Their journey takes them to India, where Mika spots Birdie, recently departed from Shadaloo, stealing food. Though on a special quest, she can't ignore wrongdoing and challenges him. Birdie is defeated, and Mika observes that while he has some nice moves, he's nowhere near as cool as Master Zangief, perhaps because he lacks true muscle spirit. As she reflects on what muscle spirit actually means, Birdie slips away. Around this time, Mika also crosses paths with the yogi Dalsim. Impressed by his ability to breathe fire, she asks him to teach her how to do the same, wanting to use the ability in her matches to energize the crowds. She loses to the yoga master, and her enthusiasm wanes for a moment. But Dalsim tells her not to be discouraged, as yoga is not easy. He says that, though she cannot yet breathe fire, her passion will ignite the flame in the future, not only for herself, but for everyone. Feeling that she has learned something valuable, Mika then leaves. In Russia, Mika faces Laura in a match seemingly organized by Zangief. Concluding that Laura, one of his grappling comrades, must be bursting with muscle spirit, Mika eagerly leaps at the chance to gain some for herself. After the fight, Laura admits Mika is tougher than she expected. Mika laughs, explaining it's all because she got to watch everything from Zangief's back and learn from him. Taking her literally, Zangief jumps into the ring and presents his back, telling Mika to keep studying and learn the lessons it has to offer. Mika watches the audience's excitement as Zangief spars with Laura, and notices the bear's excitement too. Wait, a bear? The grizzly lunges at Zangief from behind, and Mika leaps in, putting herself between the giant and the beast. As it begins to overpower her, Zangief steps in, tossing the bear aside like it weighs nothing. Shaken but inspired, Mika admits to Zangief that she doesn't feel like her skills are fully developed yet. He reassures her that her passionate spirit, her muscle spirit, is already as strong as his. She just needs to continue building her body to match. After he promises they will keep training and fighting side by side, Mika vows to give everything she has. The scene then shifts to the Kanzuki estate, where Mika is recounting her adventures to a decidedly unenthusiastic Ibuki. Ibuki declines Mika's offer to train together, muttering that she doubts she could learn anything from someone so passionately bossy. In truth, she hasn't even been paying attention. Unsurprisingly, the conversation quickly devolves into fiery bickering, with each matching the other's intensity blow for blow. In Street Fighter V's main story, Mika is first seen entering the ring of a fighting tournament in New York as Zangief's tag team partner. Later, she is called upon by Karin Kanzuki to aid in the fight against Shadaloo. Throughout the story, Mika constantly butts heads with Ibuki, their fiery personalities clashing at every turn. Yet when either is in peril, the other steps up. Ibuki saves Mika from a Shadaloo soldier, and Mika rescues Ibuki from Balrog. Still, Ibuki can't help but be slightly grossed out whenever Mika gushes about her hero Zangief. Side note, the pair even find themselves in a hot dog eating contest later, with Ibuki refusing to back down from a challenge issued by the flamboyant wrestler. Together they join other fighters in the final assault on Shadaloo, witnessing its ultimate destruction, and cementing their roles as powerful allies in the fight against evil. Our Mika's journey is one of passion, perseverance, and unshakable loyalty. From a wide-eyed aspirant challenging the world's strongest fighters, to a confident, charismatic wrestler fighting alongside her mentor Zangief, she embodies the spirit of pro wrestling. Every match, every clash, and every bickering moment with Ibuki shapes her into a fighter who inspires others while staying true to herself. Mika seeks to embody the very muscle spirit that Zangief taught her, and no doubt will pass on the lessons of dedication, courage, and flamboyant flair to the next generation of fighters. Zangief and R Mika are linked by more than the sport of wrestling. They represent two complementary sides of the same coin. The Red Cyclone is the seasoned master, disciplined in body and mind, his strength forged through decades of battle, national pride, and relentless training. He embodies the ideal of muscle spirit, a philosophy that blends sheer physical power with perseverance, courage, and mentorship. For Zangief, fighting is both personal and symbolic, a way to inspire others, protect his homeland, and preserve the honor of wrestling itself. R Mika, on the other hand, is the bright, brash student, the flame of ambition, fueled by admiration and a desire to prove herself. She channels her passion into every match, learning from her mentor and carving her own path through charisma, determination, and an unyielding will. Where Zangief moves with the measured force of a mountain, Mika bounces with exuberance, her youthful energy transforming lessons into action. Yet beneath her flair lies the same principle her mentor embodies. Muscle spirit is not just strength, but heart, courage, and unshakable dedication. Zangief's guidance gives Mika the foundation, but her journey proves that muscle spirit thrives not in imitation, but in the living, breathing expression of one's own ambition. The Red Cyclone's legacy is made manifest in R Mika's victories, her showmanship, and her willingness to fight alongside and protect those she cares for, an echo of the values Zangief has carried for decades. In the world of Street Fighter, strength is measured not just in punches or throws, but in heart, discipline, and the courage to inspire others. Zangief shows that mastery comes from dedication, resilience, and a responsibility to guide the next generation. R Mika proves that youth, passion, and determination can take those lessons and make them her own, blending raw power with charisma and audacity. Together, they amplify the essence of wrestling as both art and philosophy. The Red Cyclone and his shining protege remind us that in every throw, every grapple, and every match, muscle spirit endures, not merely as a measure of might, but as a testament to dedication, courage, and the bonds forged between teacher and student. Thanks for watching. If you felt the strength of the Red Cyclone and the spirit of R Mika through their journeys, show your own muscle spirit. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us which match or mentor-student moment inspired you the most. As always, Be excellent to yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon.